Welcome to Money, Manifestation, and Business, the podcast that shows you how to use your energy, intention, and consciousness to reprogram your money mindset, unleash a new level of possibility, and create a life and business that lights you up. I'm your host, Jamie Berman, and I invite you to join me each week for a dose of inspiration, coaching, and teachings to help you rewrite your money story, create abundance on your terms, and grow your business in a way that's fully aligned for you. This is going to be so much fun. Let's dive in. Hi, friend. Excited for today's episode and to have you back here on the podcast. Thank you for being here. I love having you. I thought before we dive into the episode, I would give you a little life update. So it has been quite a season over here in my world. It's actually reminding me of the season that I had about 9 years ago when I remember back, it was actually exactly about 9 years ago when I started my business, my coaching business. It was first time kind of diving into this. I was getting married. Me and Josh were getting married 9 years ago in April. Our anniversary is April 23rd. And we were also selling our house in Venice Beach. And we were also buying our home here in Sherman Oaks. And it literally felt like all of these massive life changes all in like a 3-month period, back to back to back to back. I mean, I remember we got back from our wedding and then got the keys to our house in Sherman Oaks. Oh, and then we were also renovating the kitchen there too. So it was like wild. And it's feeling like that again, right? Where there's so many life changes, so many good things happening, but it's also a lot to manage. Things have been rocking in my business. I've been having a lot of fun doing some amazing launches. Josh which is my husband, is releasing, he's getting ready to release the biggest album he's ever created. It is a 16-piece album that he has written and recorded and played with, a full orchestra. It is beautiful, and I cannot wait to share it with you all once it comes out. And he is, in this moment, manifesting a record label that is going to help him really get it out into the world. But by the time this episode airs, let's hope that's done. In fact, let's see it. I think it's going to be done by the time this episode airs. And on top of that, we're also getting our home ready to sell here in Los Angeles. And we're going to be getting it on the market, hopefully the end of May. And then we are going to make our move to our dream location in Maui in the beginning of the summer. So we have a couple things going on, just a couple things. And then I have some vacations plans in the midst of it. So I really got to manage my schedule, set some boundaries for myself, and make sure that I'm also taking care of myself. I know that for sure. But it's all really, really exciting stuff. And then I have a super fun manifestation that's coming to life here in about 2 weeks. Me and my mom and my 2 sisters are going to be meeting in Maui at my condo, and we're going to do a girls' trip, which is something we've always wanted to do, but have never done it yet. I've had each of them come visiting me, but they never come at the same time. So this is the first time, like, all of us girls will be together on a trip, and I've been planning so many magical adventures for the 4 of us. I say it's a girls' trip plus Josh, because Josh wants to meet us there for a couple days. He's like, this sounds too much fun to miss out on. So I said, okay, you can meet us halfway through. It'll be a girls' trip plus Josh. So anyways, lots of good stuff coming up, and it's going to be great. And so I'm getting some podcasts recorded for you all so that can all be going out while I'm in the midst of all of this amazingness. So if you could send me some good vibes, some light for all the changes, all the things that are happening, there's so much surrender happening here, so much just focusing on today, just for today, what do I need to do? Just for today, what's on the task list? And really just trying to enjoy the whole process and believing in the flow and believing that the universe is guiding us each step of the way. So that's where I've been. And I have been thinking about today's podcast episode because this is actually a topic I have been coaching on a lot. And it's actually something that I wanted to really dive deep into in the podcast because it's important when it comes to manifesting. This really matters. This could be one of your greatest manifestation blocks. And when I say that, I mean, it can block it from happening. It can block it from coming through. And not only that, it can also make the journey not fun at all. It can create a lot of suffering. What is this that I'm talking about? I'm talking about attachment. Attachment is being attached to your manifestation. And if you want to know what that means, what I mean is you're grasping it too tightly. You're trying way too hard. You almost need it too much, right? And so this is just an opportunity to check in with yourself around something that you're manifesting. And I just want to ask you, is there anything that you've been trying to call in that really doesn't feel fun, that feels heavy, that feels like a lot of work or a mountain you're having to climb? If that is the case, you're probably in attachment or a bit attached to it, right? So I'm going to give you some examples of what it might look like to be attached and what are some symptoms of attachment. I would say one of the biggest symptoms of it is if you are obsessing about the outcome, if you are obsessing and constantly thinking about your goal, about how much further you have to go, if you're checking for signs that it's working, let's say you're refreshing your bank account over and over, or you're constantly logging into Stripe or PayPal or wherever, you get payments and you're checking over and over and over, that is usually a sign that you are attached to a goal or an outcome or a manifestation that you are trying to call in, which is not making the journey fun, right? It doesn't feel good to be doing that, and it's really not helping the process. Another sign is that if you're feeling anxious or desperate about it, if you feel like you need it to happen, if you're worried that it's not going to happen, that is definitely a sign that you're in attachment energy. Or if you're trying to control the how, right? If you're trying to micromanage every step and you're almost in a bit of like a hustle grind, trying to make it happen, trying to force it to happen, trying to do everything you possibly can, but not from an empowering place, from a place of urgency and scarcity and trying really, really, really hard, sign you are attached. Also, if you're on an emotional roller coaster and you feel like the highs are really high, but then the lows are really low, and you get super disappointment if you have a flop or if you fail, and it just feels like you're on a roller coaster, another sign. If you're overworking or over-efforting and you are trying to make every single thing perfect, and when I say that, again, it's kind of like what I was talking about of trying to control the how or trying to micromanage every single step of the way. It's really about the energy that you're in. And when I say that, I mean the feeling that you're in. What is the feeling that is driving the way that you're trying to create this outcome or trying to create this manifestation? If it feels tight, if it feels heavy, if it feels like you are suffocating and trying to breathe along the way, it's probably a sign you're attached, right? And there is a way out of this, but I just wanted to go through some of the symptoms first so that you can kind of identify, oh my gosh, in this area of my life or with this thing that I'm trying to manifest, maybe there's some attachment there so that we can clean it up, because attachment doesn't really work. Also, if you're feeling resistance or stagnation, or if you're making your happiness dependent on it, like I have to have this thing in order to be happy, or I have to have this thing in order to tell myself I'm successful. I will not believe that I'm a successful person or that I'm good enough or that I can be happy. Or once I finally get this, then I'll be relieved. Or once I finally get this, then I'll feel secure, right? When you're attaching some kind of an emotion to getting that thing, that's just a sign that you are in attached energy, and it probably is slowing down your manifestation process and it's getting in the way of it coming to life, right? It's getting in the way of you actually receiving it. Because if you are thinking about it, attachment energy is very, very closed. It's very clingy. It's like you are suffocating your manifestation. It can't breathe. It can't come to life. I like to think of it almost like when you're baking a cake, right? So you know you're kind of attached when you are baking a cake and you make it all, you have the ingredients, you put it all together and you put it in the oven and you see that the oven's on, it's hot. But when you're in attachment, it's almost like checking every 3 minutes how the cake is doing. Is it baking? You keep opening the oven and looking at it and seeing, maybe feeling it. Maybe you're poking a little toothpick into it to see if it's done. And you're just like, wait, is it almost done? Is it almost done? Is it there yet? You're looking for evidence that it's there. You're worried that it's not going to bake. So you have to keep looking at it and checking on it, right? Which the problem with that is, how the heck can the cake bake? It doesn't actually end up baking, or it ends up taking way longer because you keep opening the oven and cooling it down, right? And so that would be the example of being attached to the outcome. And as you know, if you keep opening the door, it's not helping the process. Now, the same is with your manifestation. Say you're calling in money and you just keep checking your account, keep checking your account, keep checking your account, keep seeing if someone booked a consult with you. Is not helpful, because what is happening when you are checking, or you are thinking about it nonstop or in resistance about it, is that you're actually not in service to that thing. You're actually not open to that thing coming in. You're also not enjoying your life. It just doesn't feel good. Attachment feels absolutely terrible. And I have to say, it's something I am consistently working with too. I notice when I get myself in attached energy, because I also feel this way and it happens. And there is a process for getting out of it. And I want to share that with you. In fact, this past week, this is what inspired this episode, because I was on a coaching call with my coach. And I was just talking about an outcome that I'm calling in excited about, but I was definitely in an attached energy where I was telling her, I'm struggling to believe around it and I need to believe and blah, blah, blah. And you could tell it just wasn't there was absolutely no certainty. There was no it is done energy. I was not believing in the magic of the universe. I was not believing that it's totally possible to create this thing. And that is because I was so attached to it. And I was thinking, I can't be happy without this thing on an unintentional level. I wasn't like intentionally thinking that, but I was noticing that I was putting a lot of pressure on this thing happening for me to feel good, right? And so I did a little practice, and this is the practice that really, really helps me, is I say, oh, wait a minute. How am I going to decide to be happy no matter what? I had to come back and notice that I was doing that. And I was like, wait, how can I make the decision to be happy no matter what? That way I can just free myself from this thing having to happen in this way. I can free myself from that outcome having to exist and putting so much pressure on it, and me putting so much mental energy into it that was unhelpful. So I took a step back and I thought, okay, Jamie, in what ways are you going to choose to be happy no matter what happens, no matter if this outcome happens or it completely flops? And that's where I did my mindset work and I realized, oh, wait a minute. Yes, of course I'm going to be happy and I'm going to choose happy. That's the thing. It is a choice. So I decided ahead of time, I'm choosing happy no matter what happens with this thing, right? It's that I'm going to be happy no matter what. And I always come back to the things in my life that make me the happiest are all free, right? They're all free. They're all there all the time. They're always available to me, right? My husband, my dog, going on walks in nature, sunshine, watching my favorite movies and my favorite TV shows, especially with my husband, right? These are the things that like really bring me joy. Eating good, healthy food. It's like, for me, that's available no matter if this outcome happens or not, right? So I had to bring myself back to how am I going to be happy no matter what? And what's so wild is that you would think that saying I'm going to be happy no matter what will make you not want that outcome anymore, right? You're like, well, if I'm going to be happy no matter what, why would I want that thing? But the truth is, I actually, whenever I shift my energy in that way, it's like I'm almost more motivated to create that thing because it's from a completely different energy. There's no attachment. There's no neediness. It's more of desire, fun, committed to creating that thing. It gets to be more like a game. It gets to be more playful because I'm like, oh, I still want to create it. There is still that desire within me, but I'm not suffocating it. I'm not so attached to it. So it's so wild how whenever I do that activity, I actually become like 10 times more motivated. It's a wild shift that happens within me. And I saw it happening just yesterday after I got coached on it. And I chose happy no matter what, right? That's my thought is happy no matter what. And I have to remind myself because this happens not all the time, but it happens from time to time. And I have to keep coming back to, oh yeah, this feels really bad. I'm attached. Okay, let's loosen the grip. I get to feel whatever I want to feel no matter what the outcome is because I choose my energetic state. I choose the story that I tell about my life. I choose the emotions that I want to lean into and that serve me. I don't have to wait for circumstances or results to occur for me to choose how I'm going to think about my life. So that's just a reminder that I keep coming back to time and time again. And it helps me create freedom in my life, right? Because I'm free from having to have my manifestations happen to be a happy, well-rounded human being. And with that, I can breathe and I feel much more free. And then I end up being more motivated and committed to the things that I'm manifesting, but from a different energy that actually works like a million times better, I must say. And it's so wild because I'm not the only one that this works for. I said I coached a lot of clients through this, and there are some stories that just blow my mind where I have witnessed someone who was super attached to an outcome. And when I say attached, I don't mean they know it's going to happen or that they know it's done in their future. It's not that they are desiring it. When I say they're attached, they're putting so much pressure on that thing happening. They feel like deep down, they need it to happen to be happy, right? They feel like that outcome has to happen in their life or else, right? It feels really tight. That's attachment energy, right? And I've witnessed people who have been very, very attached to things who through coaching have really loosened the grip and let go and eventually finally surrendered to that thing. And what has been so wild is I have seen that the moment someone surrenders, it's like that manifestation shows right on up. And I have so many examples of this. That's why I wanted to do a full episode on this. So there was another really fun story of a client of mine who really wanted to manifest a baby. She wanted to have a business, have her baby. She felt so called to be a mother. And I know there's many people who are like that, right? And it can feel really frustrating when you really want something like that and there's a biological clock, right? And when you're trying and it's not working, or when there's loss involved or fertility issues, it can be really, really frustrating to feel like you are not in control. And that is what my client felt like. And she was getting more and more defeated as time went on because she was thinking, oh my gosh, I feel such a soul calling to be a mom. And it's not happening for me. It's not working, right? And so she was super, super down and very frustrated and in very much, in her words, in attached energy now that she's in hindsight, right? After we've kind of coached through this and she worked through it personally too. She was very attached to it, thinking, I need this thing in order to be happy. I'm not going to be happy until I have this thing. Which of course sounds like a good thing. It sounds real, but the problem is when you tell a story like that and when you see it in that way, it makes you feel so helpless and it makes you feel like, I know for me, like I'm suffocating, right? And there's nothing I can do. And then I try to control more and try to control more and try to push harder and it doesn't work. And it's more and more frustrating. I can't enjoy the journey. I can't enjoy my life now. And that's where my client was. So she actually did a lot of work around manifestation, was doing her work around money. But the fun thing is with my program, you can apply all the principles and the universal laws to anything you're trying to call in. So she started doing that work around this manifestation of wanting to have a baby. And she realized I'm attached and that is not helpful. So she decided that she wanted to free herself from that attachment and almost let go of the desire, right? That was her first step. It's almost let go of it needing it. And she decided, which I thought this was so cool, she decided, you know what? I don't have to have a child to be a mom. I am just going to let go of needing this so bad, make peace with the fact that it could not happen, and ask myself, how could I be happy without it? How could I choose happiness without this thing? And simultaneously, she said, how can I also express this motherly energy, right? Because I have this maternal energy that wants to be expressed. So she did all of these things. Like she started treating her dog like her baby, throwing birthday parties to her dog. She started teaching ice skating lessons to little kids and kind of brought out that motherly energy. And she just started identifying as, I'm a mom still. Like I can be a mom with or without a child. And I am going to express my motherly energy in many different ways and any way that I can express it. And really did this work around, and I don't have to have it to be happy. And she really made peace deeply with that part of her, right, that wanted it, but she also decided what could life look like and how could I create happiness without it? And she super let it go to the point where she even got to the point where she's like, maybe I don't even want it anymore. This is actually cool. Like I like my life without it. Maybe I don't even want it. And what do you know? 1 month later, she finds out she's pregnant. She let go of the attachment, it let her breathe. And in many ways, probably was very good for her body because it released so much of the tension and stress that could have been messing with who knows what was going on, right? On a biological level. But it was so fascinating to witness this. And she very, very much attributes this manifestation to releasing the attachment because it was such a powerful shift that she made. And it was like right when she let it go, it let it come in, right? It's kind of like a butterfly. It's not going to come to us if we're like clenching it and like grasping its wings. It can't, right? It's when we open our hand that a butterfly can come and sit there and be there for longer than we would expect, right? Because it's a light touch. So when we hold our manifestations with a light touch, I swear this is when I see them happening most often. It's like they're able to finally come in. So I wanted to give you a couple of the practices that I give to clients and that I use personally when I notice that I am attached to something so that I can free myself from it, because that's really what it's about, is free yourself from the attachment, letting yourself and it breathe so that it can come in. So one of the things that I love to do when I notice that I'm attached is I'll get out a piece of paper or, take out my journal, draw a line down the middle of it, and I will write out all the reasons that I do desire that thing. Why that thing would be so fun, because it's totally okay to be in desire and to want that thing. We just can't need it, right? So on the right side of the paper, I write down why I don't need it, right? And I make a list of all of the ways that I am going to be happy no matter what. And I really dive into, how am I going to be happy even without this thing? Why do I actually not need this thing? And I make a list on the right side of that paper. And so I have both of those. I have the why I want it, but I don't need it. And I will tell you what, it's when I finally make peace and see, oh, no matter what I choose happy, no matter what I choose okay, no matter what I choose good. And that's when you can loosen the grip and release the attachment. Another thing that can be really helpful is creating a surrender jar, either a worry jar or a surrender jar. And it's just something where those things that maybe you notice you're trying to control, or you have a very, very tight grip on, or thinking you need it to go a certain way in order to be okay, you can write those things down and release them into the jar, release them into that surrender jar. And I like to think of a surrender jar as just being infused with beautiful, vibrant, the most loving God energy that ever existed, like infinite possibilities in that jar. And I think of releasing it to that. And I always think I am sending this to higher forces that know and are able to transmute this so much better than me, right? And I really fully release it to that and let it go, and imagine yourself and feeling yourself let it go, taking it off of you, right? It's like taking a backpack off, a heavy backpack, releasing the weight and really giving it to God, or giving it to your surrender jar, giving it to the universe, the angels, whoever it is. That's how I like to think of my surrender jar. So that can be really, really helpful to actually write it down and imagine yourself surrendering it and really choosing surrender. Another thing that's helpful is shifting the story. So it's deciding ahead of time, if this thing didn't happen, what would I choose to tell myself on purpose, right? Because a lot of the times we're super attached to things because we're like, oh, I need this in order to tell myself I'm worthy. I need this in order to feel confident. I need this in order to feel good about myself. I need this in order to be validated, even by myself or others. But all of those create attachment and pressure and not good energy for manifesting. So what I would do is I would decide what your story is on purpose. Whether you have this thing or not, how do you want to think about yourself? How do you want to think about your life? No matter what. That's going to be very, very helpful. Another thing that you can do is visualize freedom, right? And just seeing yourself as free no matter what, thinking about what are the feelings you really want to feel. Because anything we want to manifest, it's really because of how we think it's going to make us feel. So you can get clear, what do I think this is going to make me feel? And start visualizing yourself feeling that way now, feeling that way about your life now, starting to tell a story about your life now that helps to generate those feelings so that you don't need something outside of you in hopes it'll make you feel that way. Truth is, it probably won't make you feel that way because things can't make us feel, maybe momentarily, right? But our energetic state is established by the stories that we tell ourselves. And those are habitual. Those don't change with circumstantial changes. So start reprogramming the story that you tell about yourself and your life now. And that will help to loosen up attachment and make it way more fun creating, and manifesting. So I hope this episode was helpful. I know a lot of questions have come in about attachment. So in next week's episode, I am going to answer specific questions about it. And so make sure to tune into that episode. And so I will see you there. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave a, hopefully, 5-star rating and review. That will really, really help to get this podcast out into the world and, spread the joy, spread the abundance, and spread all this manifestation magic. So if you would be willing to do that, I would be so grateful. Happy manifesting, happy releasing attachment, and I will see you next week. Hey, thanks for listening. I hope this episode is something that you'll be able to add to your manifestation toolbox to come back to when you need a little extra motivation. If you like what you've heard today and want to take it deeper, you've got to come check out my signature coaching program, the Money Manifestation Movement. It's the place where you'll not only learn manifestation, but you'll begin to live it alongside me and an amazing community of like-minded entrepreneurs doing this work together. Head on over to jamieberman.com to learn more.